Ahoy! Welcome back to another installment of the Captain's Log. If you haven't been following, my name's Rixley. I am a systems thinker, systems designer, and strategic designer. I'm currently living here in Canggu in Bali, Indonesia. And I started this little project to basically log my journey as I build out while I discover my new emerging business, my new emerging project, which is now forming called The Leadership, which actually kind of popped out the other side of these little vlogs that I'm doing. Started doing the captain's log first, and then this idea kind of formed and came out the other side of that. So I'm going to be sharing the updates as I go, as I build that project, which is The Leadership. So The Leadership is basically, it's a school community, and it is a community for leadership. And basically the premise of this community is that we require a very different type of leadership these days. 21st century leadership is a very different type of leadership to traditional business management and leadership that we've had in the past. And I'm noticing that basically what this type of leadership really is it's actually about the ability to lead without actually knowing what's going on, leading through uncertainty. We used to have this leadership where the leadership would actually have all the answers. And now we're moving into an information era or a technological era where leadership actually doesn't have all the answers, and that's actually okay. It's just really about having the tools and processes and the environments, and also having the resilience to the change and being in that emerging nature of the basically this new world that we're kind of moving into, that is emerging and is moving very, very fast, exponentially fast. So the community that I'm building is really focused around supporting leadership, and basically just I'm going to open a window twice a week. I'm going to open 2 1-hour windows that's going to cover the northern and southern hemisphere. So I'm going to try. I've decided on a couple of times that I should be able to open a window for most people to join. So basically, it's going to be that window, and then I'm going to be putting some tools and resources and some learning materials basically up there for leadership to kind of gather and get some tools and resources to be able to manage leading in this type of environment, which can be quite challenging. A lot of decision fatigue, very hard to lead, feeling like you don't know what's going on, and to kind of sit in that and hold that space and kind of be okay with leaning into the to the uncertainty. And it's really funny because I actually last night, like as I was drifting off to sleep, I had this thought pop into my head, and I had to go and scribble it down, and I'm so glad I did, because I would have totally forgot that I had this thought last night. But I wrote down here on this little paper, and you can see it. And if you can't hear, you obviously can't see it if you're listening on Spotify, but I'll read it to you. It's basically, be certain today in the unknown of tomorrow. Be certain today in the unknown of tomorrow. I had this thought, and it's actually, there's a couple of meanings to that. And the first thing is that you can be sure that you don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you can be certain of that. Maybe there's some things that you can predict, but in reality, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to even exist tomorrow, and that's why we really need to be present and be very grateful for each day that we're here and alive, and, to be able to be in this world. But you can, be certain today in the unknown of tomorrow, but also be certain today, be confident and be certain within yourself about the unknown of tomorrow, because that's that's the kind of leadership that we're after these days. So I'm kind of just been sitting with that, actually. I think there's a lot to unpack in that. But yeah, be certain today in the unknown of tomorrow. And back to the format, to the regular programming of this podcast. So basically, what I do is I take 3 things that I learned this week that I'm going to help me make better decisions next week, and then I also have 5 things that went well. So I'm going to just go through these things. I'm going to share with you guys something pretty cool too, like these 10 design assumptions that I actually, on my teachers, design assumptions that they wrote in the 1970s. So I'm going to get to those too, because I'm just onto my first, things that I learnt this week is that I actually had the honor of participating in one of the Valley Web's Model of the Months. So the Valley Web is a community of MG Taylor practitioners, and they get together and have, it's pretty much like a community of practice, I would say. And I think that's something that I learned this week is that it's really important to have that, to have peers and to have people that are able to kind of help you to flesh out your thinking, or to like bring new things to stimulate thought. So I jumped on this call with the Valley Web, and there's some really amazing thinkers on this call and really amazing facilitators. Matt Taylor was there, Rob Evans, and Sven Yaruga was facilitating the call. So, and then a lot of all these practitioners kind of popping in, and we're having basically a conversation around the rate of change, which is an MG Taylor model, which shows the rate of change, and it shows complexity going up, and then it shows basically with all of that increasing complexity, our ability to respond diminishes over time, and that's what they get, where you get this thing called the collision of future, which I think I've mentioned on this podcast before. But we were actually talking about this model. And what was really interesting about this was that we were looking at this model, and then we were also being shown these 10 design assumptions, which Matt and Gail, I think, wrote in the 1970s, or like the late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember the exact date, but it was really, it's kind of a paradox, because we're looking at this model of the rate of change, which shows that complexity is increasing and that our ability to respond as humanity is diminishing. But then when you look at the 10 design assumptions that Matt and Gail wrote in the 1970s, it's like it doesn't sound too dissimilar to what's actually going on right now. So actually, despite all this change and despite all this increase in complexity, we're still pretty much in the same place as we were back in the 70s and the 80s. And I'll read these 10 design assumptions to you. They're very interesting. So here they are. 1, humanity is creating change and increasing... Hang on, let me go again. 1, humanity is creating change and increasing complexity at a rate significantly greater than our ability to understand and respond appropriately. 2, humanity is increasingly creating, by intended and unintended actions, the social and physical conditions that are becoming the primary environment within which our mental and physical evolution are taking place. This is the Anthropocene age, don't know if I said that right, in which it is human activity that shapes the planetary environment. 3, humanity is in the midst of World War III. This is the culmination of a 100-year global civil war to control resources that, if used at scale and at this rate, will far exceed the Earth's ability to replace them and will accelerate our march to environmental and social collapse. 4, humanity has almost no practice acting as a whole on a vast global scale. We focus on the most immediate parts of the planetary system. We attempt to fix isolated, localized problems, but even the local solutions to these problems create unknowable, unpredictable, uncontrollable, and suddenly emergent results of extreme magnitude. 5, humanity's condition and identified problems in focus are not beyond our accumulated knowledge and capacities. As individuals, Most humans are resilient, honest, productive, and friendly. We have the capacity to work together intelligently, creatively, and effectively. As a species, however, we are acting in a way that can only be described as clinically insane. 6. People without position and power, most animals that are not intimate pets, and the planet itself are treated as commodities to be exploited. The monetary system that supports this exploitation does not evaluate and account for life, only things and transactions. We know the price of everything, but the things we value most are not measurable in these currencies. 7. Tens of thousands of years of human history are full of achievements and failures. We have a rich history, but we do not remember it, know it, or employ it to inform our present and to systemically design our future. 8. The ability to develop and use technology, one of the singular aspects of being human, will not save us. It is becoming a force in itself that knows no master and lacks educated self-aware. Oh, sorry. 8. Let me try that again. 8. The ability to develop and use technology, one of the singular aspects of being human, will not save us. It is becoming a force in itself that knows no master and lacks educated, self-aware, competent users who function in a time frame of centuries rather than business quarter to business quarter. At best, our perspective is that of a few years. The result? The system of technology and users functions poorly without proper feedback. 9. Philosophy, religion, science, and politics are weapons of influence and power rather than serving as guides to life and the creation, maintenance, and growth of a viable society with healthy communities and people. Humanity has spent millennia defining success as the absence of failure, acting as if health were the absence of disease, wealth the absence of poverty, freedom the absence of tyranny, love the absence of hate, life the absence of death, and now, with more abundance than can be measured, we are clinging to old rules, habits, grudges, fears, and myths. Our best possible futures are lost in a cloud of uninformed, distorted arguments mixed with compulsive consumption and false model of what is true prosperity. We find it all too easy to imagine dystopian futures and nearly impossible to share dreams worth building together. We are failing at success. So, that, like when I read these and I think about the state of the world and I think about when this was written, I'm like, wow, like it's really not, like this could have been written yesterday. So despite all the change and despite all the technological advancements, it really is that we find ourselves in the same predicament. And I really wonder what it's going to take to change. And I really feel it's got to do with leadership. I think if we can build better leaders, and then we can change systems, because I think leadership's going to come down to, leading systems and leading systems change. And it's a very different type of world, as I mentioned. So that's very interesting. Those 10 design assumptions. Maybe I'll try and put a link to those somehow in the bottom of this YouTube channel, but in the comments, in the description. So this 10 design assumptions, I feel like has got to be something that I put on the leadership. I think, setting the context is really important, and I'm so glad that I jumped on that call the other day with the Value Web, because I'd totally forgotten about these. Actually, I've read the Collaboration Code book that Rob Evans has written. It's if you can find them, actually. It's Imaginal Labs, Rob Evans' business, and he's got 3 books that he's written with in collaboration with Matt Taylor. And I think also Kelvy Bird, who's is amazing visual. I don't know how you describe it. Like she's a scribe. She's a scribe. We call it a scribe, but yeah, she does basically visualizations of information on these amazing artworks actually, where she gathers all the inputs from the conversation and does these amazing graphics. But she's a I guess, what would you say, like an elder, or like a, in the MG Taylor philosophy methodology, she's a, yeah, she's a why I'm like really stuck tonight actually with my words. I'm sorry. Not an elder, but she's basically, you know, been pioneering that space of visual recording. Visual recording, I think that's it. So it's incredible. There's a lot of these really talented people in that MG Taylor world. So I'll put those there. They're very interesting to kind of like mull over. But I'm going to make those like a pre-read to the leadership. I think if anyone's joining the leadership, they kind of got to understand that, because I think that's, and I would say that's probably why Matt and Rob decided to put this at the beginning of the collaboration code book, because it does really set the scene, you know, of where we are and why MG Taylor is actually such an important tool for us at this time, especially at this time. So the other thing that happened this week, which was very, very interesting, was that it was my birthday this week, by the way. And I went to Ubud to get a water blessing at the temple there, the Sabatu temple. And I actually took a wrong turn, and I went to this restaurant, and there was a lady at the restaurant, a Balinese woman. She was working at the restaurant. Her name's Katut. And she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I recognize you." I'm like, you don't recognize me. I've never been here before." She goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, yeah, like, I don't know your face. I know your face." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm not sure how," but anyway, I definitely hadn't met her before, but she asked me, you know, what I was doing in Ubud, and I said, "Well, it's actually my birthday today, and I'm going to the water temple to get a blessing." And all the hairs on her body stood up, and she's like, "No way!" She's like, "It's actually my birthday too," and I actually do tours at the water temple. I am a guide. It's my dream to be a guide there. So would you wait for me and we'll go together on our birthdays and do a birthday blessing? So I went with her I waited for her, and then we ended up going together, and it was amazing. I wouldn't have even known what to do, like with the blessing. There's like a whole process you have to go through. You know, you go to the one fountain, and then you have to do a very particular action with you get these little prayer baskets with flowers. And so you've got to take a particular color, and you pray, and then you put that on your right ear, and then you take another color and you put it on your left ear, and then you make a combination and you put it on the back of your hair and here. Then you have to like go up to each of the fountains and sip 3 times and put it on your head 3 times, like all these little things that I wouldn't have any idea. But so I ended up doing this whole ceremony with her, and it was incredible. It was just like the best birthday gift I could have ever even asked for. And yeah, I just learning on that is that always follow your intuition. You know, it's like I just wasn't really thinking. I ended up there, and then all these amazing things started happening, and I didn't think too much about going to Ubud. I was on my own on my birthday, and then boom, just packed my things, threw a bag together, got on my bike, cruised down there. Never heard of Sabatu until that morning when I was Googling where I should go and check out the water temple. So yeah, always follow your intuition. Just don't think too much. Just go for it. The universe has got it covered pretty much. So I had an amazing birthday week. And I also onboarded my peer, Joe Death, to the leadership. So Joe Death is and if you got a ship, you know, you got to have a crewmate called Joe Death. I mean, honestly, you'd be silly not to. So I onboarded Joe to the leadership. So Joe's going to be on board, and we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think it's really nice to have somebody to kind of play around with on the leadership. And Joe's just looking through some of the school, getting herself familiarized with school, and very experienced solution designer. I've worked with Joe many times, and I look forward to that, where that goes, and I'll update you guys here with that. Also making wins, client wins, just really love watching my clients growing through the experience. And basically the real value is just really holding that tension to rushing to answers and rushing to solutions. And I think that's really the art of facilitation, is just keeping people in that liminal space long enough for new ideas to emerge. And I can really feel that coming through, especially with Nick's team at Love Out Loud. And then, Botswana's doing well too. We're making some gains there. I'm training the accounts team at the moment at Graham's business at Cappuccinos, and they're really taking to the method and really trying to implement new systems and make some changes to the processes and the workflows. And I think they're making some progress. And I'm also doing better this week at kind of breaking up my time. I think I was really overworking myself and kind of not staying true to the times that I had put for particular things like making content and client work, and I wasn't setting proper boundaries around there. I was trying to. I was doing well at it, but now this week I think I'm doing a bit better. So it's really helping me because it's giving me some space to actually think and to actually just relax. Like this weekend I actually had quite a relaxing weekend where I didn't do much work. Usually I'm working on the weekend, but this weekend I kind of allowed myself to have a bit of spare time, free time. And then watch the UFC today. Whoa, I don't know if any of you guys had seen that, but the UFC today in the Sphere in Vegas, wow, what a production. Can't believe it. It was incredible. The highest quality production, the graphics, just the whole immersive experience. It's just amazing. So yeah, watch the UFC today. And it was a bit sad to see Sugar Sean lose today, but he'll be back. But yeah, that's it. So that's my week. Sorry, a bit scattered today. I'm a bit. I just came back from the the sauna. It's quite late here. It's actually 11:09 p.m. and I had to make this commitment to get this out tonight. So, that's it. I've been doing this for 1 month now. This is now episode 4 of the Captain's Log. So I'm gonna keep going. I really hope to share more of the journey with the leadership, and I hope I have more to report on that this next week. I want to get some more of I want to start onboarding some people onto that and start getting some of these calls going. So I will put the link to the leadership down here in the description. So if you do feel the call to get on board, then please feel free to do so. And other than that, smooth sailing, everyone. I'll see you next week. Ciao.